Runefest just happened, and with it, we got a new old school RuneScape roadmap with some huge updates. There is a lot here, so let's talk about it. For anyone who hasn't heard, which is probably none of you, OSRS is getting a new skill, and Jagex is planning for it to release this year. Based on the timeline they shared, they are looking to release it in autumn this year, which would be around September, October, November, kind of the back half of the year. This is one that I'm pretty excited about myself, and we're gonna get a chance to try it in an open alpha sometime this month. So I'm sure we'll hear more on that soon. But in terms of what we're gonna get in the alpha, we did actually get quite a lot in here. In order to start training the skill, we will have a new introductory quest here. This can be started in Port Sarim and takes us to our first new island, along with giving us our first boat. During the alpha, we'll have access to a ton of stuff by the sound of it. I won't go too in depth here, but these are the quick highlights to look forward to. We've got ship customization. This will function similarly to how construction does in the POH, allowing you to set up different types of facilities on your ships, which is essentially just letting you do or specialize in different activities. You are going to be able to join a crew. So basically you'll be able to go out to sea with your friends if you like, which is pretty cool. There's going to be new islands, new areas all around here to just be able to like travel to. Port tasks, sort of like Slayer tasks or Hunter tasks, but for you and your ship. Shipwreck salvaging, sea charting, and the first Barracuda trial. It's kind of like a bit more of an intense way to challenge your sailing abilities and get some XP along the way. Next up in the roadmap, we have got Yama, a new Endgame Duo Boss planned for the spring, which should be within the next couple of months actually. Now this is going to be a demon boss, which is going to be located in the Chasm of Fire, and is planned to give a ton of new rewards, some of which are going to be best in slot. Since we'd still need all of this to pass a poll, take the rewards here with a grain of salt. The first thing is the upgraded Death Charge spell in the Arceus spellbook. The base spell lets you get special energy back for killing a creature. This upgraded version would just let you get special back for killing 2 creatures. So you get twice as much special back, essentially. Then there is the Surge Potion. The effect will be once every 5 minutes, you can restore 25% of your special attack energy. This is going to require a new drop from Yama, a Torstal, and 81 Herblore to make. Now, personally, I think the uses on this will be quite niche, given the long cooldown between sips. But certainly for anyone trying to do like speed runs or some other fancy, weird challenge type of thing, I could see this being helpful. I think for your average like day-to-day killing something, doing special attacks, probably isn't going to be anything crazy for you. Another reward is going to be the Cosmic Catalyst. This is a stackable drop that will let you combine Soul and Cosmic Runes together. This will require 90 rune crafting to use. You might think it's a bit of a weird combo, but within the Arceus spellbook, you do have Mark of Darkness, as well as the Ward of Arceus, which requires both a Cosmic and a Soul Rune. I think mainly this is going to be for the Mark of Darkness, though, because this is going to empower your Demon Bane spell. So it'll be like a nice time saver, probably help a bit with the Yama boss by itself. Plus, it'll be nice to have for things like maybe Tormented Demons as well, anywhere that you're thinking about using that Demon Bane spell. Last, the sort of the smaller rewards is going to be Abyssal Worms. It's another stackable drop. These allow you to catch anglerfish faster, and for anyone who's spent any time catching anglers, you know just how slow those are. So hopefully this will speed that up quite a bit. And now the big stuff, Soul Armor. You can see the stats laid out here. It's meant to compete with Torva in a way. It has 7 less melee strength, but it has more slash accuracy. It seems the idea is to pair this with the Scythe and supposedly will out damage someone using Torva if the boss or mob has high defenses. Now that said, while the Scythe can be used in a ton of different PVM situations, it's not always on slash. So I'll be curious to see how the math works out for this one once everything gets locked in. It's hard for me to think of particularly good use cases for this offhand. Maybe something like the Colosseum or TOB. Any of you PVM gods out there, you'll have to let us know your thoughts down in the comments below for this one. I will say though, from my perspective, as someone who mainly plays Iron Man, Torva is gonna take me a long time to get to, so if this is faster to get to than Torva, I mean, I'm pretty happy with that anyway, but we'll have to see how the boss mechanics shake out. We're also getting this new Soul Flame Horn. It's not really meant to be anything other than a special weapon, and the special on it is kind of different. Your closest allies within 2 tiles have the accuracy of their next melee attack, including special attacks, within the next 6 seconds increased by 100%. It costs 25% special energy by every person who's impacted by this. And immediately I'm thinking, Dragon Warhammer specials, they're never gonna miss. But you know, even DPS specs like Dragon Claws would benefit from something like this. What I don't know is if it is actually worth using this special over just like taking your own claws and doing that spec yourself. It'll probably depend a little on the defense of whatever you're fighting. So I imagine that this becomes much better if you're against higher defense enemies, but on low level stuff, you'd be better off just like doing the damage spec yourself or what have you, right? And it does sound interesting. It's certainly different. I'm a little bit unsure of how this one's going to shake out as well. So again, with this one, what do you all think of this particular special? Bit of a weird one. Now that is it in terms of the rewards from the boss itself, but they did also mention that they'll be bringing in some additional like skilling options in the surrounding area within the chasm. You can see here on the blog that they mention a new mining method. During Runefest, they also mentioned something about like maybe rune crafting as well. We'll just have to see what all they end up with. That's very much not locked in at this point. And so they're not really giving us a ton of information right now as to what they have in mind for these sort of like extra things within the chasm. Next up, we've got the third part of the Varla expansion. This is slated for the summer and one we already knew about prior. So I won't go too in depth here since a lot of folks have already talked about the activities here, but I will give a quick highlights for anyone who's out of the loop. There will be this new quest, the Final Dawn. This is to wrap up the Varla storyline, and you're going to be rewarded with a new weapon that's essentially equivalent to a dragon scimitar, but it also has a cool special that like applies burns. So kind of cool. It's a guaranteed quest reward. Certainly not a bad thing. Not necessarily like a best in slot though. We'll also be getting this new Delve boss, the Doom of Mokhyotl. God, dude, the names in Varla, I swear, when they release this thing, oh god, the update video I'm gonna put out for this is it's gonna be rough. All right, just prepare for it now. It's going to have a new loot mechanic involved with it, where essentially after you beat it, you can decide if you want to stay and try again against like a harder version of it for increased rewards. So sort of like doubling down type of thing, which is pretty cool. And especially if you're kind of at like the higher end of the game, you're really rewarded for being able to like stick through this. Of course, they do have to agree on what those rewards are going to look like, but hopefully they'll shake that out by the summer. We'll be getting a new fletching minigame, Rip Trouble Brewing. If you know, you know. There's going to be this new Slayer dungeon as well, which offers a sort of like tri-brid defender kind of deal. It fits well with a lot of the other Varla like armor and weapons, because they're all kind of like interesting mixes of different combat styles. So again, not necessarily like a best in slot thing, but it kind of just vibes with the rest of Varla. We are going to get a new crab boss. Crab enjoyers rejoice. And we're getting a new Nagwa. This one's going to drop a double hitting stab weapon. It's going to be similar to like the double hitting slash weapon that we get, or the double hitting crush weapon that you get from a Mokhyotl. Also planned for the summer is this summer sweep thing that they're looking at. And these are all like quality of life related updates. They're looking to expand elemental weaknesses. It's really too bad we couldn't get this prior to the leagues last year to save that Kandarin Echo item. Oh man, dude, rip Kandarin. Oh, feels bad. They're also going to be opening up halberds, so you're going to be able to use it at things like Zulrah, Avian Seas, which to me I think means you'll also be able to melee Armadillo, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if it'll actually be any good compared to some of the other methods out there, but no more will things in the sky be immune to melee. It's kind of an interesting change, isn't it? They're also looking to rebalance certain drop tables. They haven't really given us a lot, but the example that they used here was blood runes. Now, it probably comes as no surprise, but Soul Wars crates are crazy OP. A lot of accounts have used these. I've used these on my Snowflake Iron Man, the transit only series, to just build up a lot of supplies, like not even just blood runes. And they'll be looking at rebalancing stuff like this. And yes, this does mean it is time to panic grind out Soul Wars if you haven't already, if you want the loot from the crates. you got until summer before it probably looks a lot less enticing. They're also going to be looking at some improvements for Slayer as well. I'll be curious to see how it shakes out with this sort of like block list, but also things like expanding the tasks to broader categories, meaning you can do more stuff in the game. Like, you know, instead of getting maybe like a lesser demon, which is kind of like only lesser demons or like one of the Zami generals or whatever, they may expand it into like demons as your Slayer task. So now you can suddenly go and you can do Zami, you can do Yama, you can do tormented demons, that sort of deal. Now, they may not quite take it that far, but again, we'll see as we get into this, but that's kind of my expectation with something like this. Also, I see in here modifying the Abyssal Sire encounter, which I hope and I pray means they speed up or remove all of the like slow animations as part of that fight, because man, does that make killing Abyssal Sire just take forever. Looking forward on the timeline, we already talked about sailing a little bit earlier, but again, this is planned for the back half of the year as a full release, so fingers crossed on that one. Next, we have another round of Deadman mode planned for the winter months. If you've not played this before, it's essentially leagues with PvP everywhere. I know that tends to put a lot of people off, but there is actually quite a lot of safe zones and normally some really cool superpowers to play around with. It is also worth a shout that the DMM cosmetic rewards for last year are worth a lot of GP. So maybe that can give you some motivation to like jump in and give it a try. Really, I've played Deadman the last 2 times and I've thought it's been quite fun, even as a solo player. And it's really interesting coming up with like different strategies to get yourself into certain areas of the game, maybe like way earlier than like normal folks would, giving you even more safety. So like last year I broke into Darkmire with Supple Thigh, and it was basically just the 2 of us and like bracket 2 or bracket 3 just chilling in Darkmire. There's literally nobody else. So sometimes there's fun stuff like that you can do. The last item on the roadmap is this Blood Moon Rises quest planned for early 2026. So probably not quite this year, right? If you haven't seen the cinematic, you should definitely go and check it out on the official channel. Really cool. This is gonna be the finale of the Myarchy Vampyre quest line. Now, I've personally always really enjoyed this quest line, so I'm excited to see what they come up with for it. Right now, they haven't really given us much, but you can expect the requirements are going to be somewhere in like the 70+ range for similar skills to the other vampire quests. They've also mentioned that we'll be going to Vampyrium, hopefully I'm saying that right, which is basically the vampire homeland. And no confirmation yet on what sort of activities we're going to get to do while we're here, but it's a pretty easy bet there'll be some stuff here that we're able to like kill for sweet drops or who knows what, right? So you can look forward to that, and I'm sure as we get a bit closer they'll tell us more things that we're going to be able to do and get out of this quest as well. Now, there were 2 other items mentioned that didn't have a specific timeline on the roadmap, those being the HD and API improvements and Project Xanarus. To briefly touch on each, they are working on a sort of like client engine improvement deal so that we can get an official HD version of the client. It'd be kind of like what they did back in the day with the HD release. With this, they're also expanding the APIs, which essentially means more plugins on the official client, but also on mobile. And I know for folks who are on mobile, it has felt a little slow if you're going from like RuneLite to mobile to really like get some of these nicer plugins. So hopefully this will help bridge that gap. And I know one of the things they talked about as well at Runefest was things like getting the Quest Helper plugin on mobile. So stuff like that, hopefully we'll be able to see that transition to mobile with this change much faster, or even at the same time as it releases to things like RuneLite. And then for Project Xanarus, those are the custom servers. There will be all kind of like settings and things that we can use to customize the worlds or create challenges for others to try. While they didn't give us a specific date, they do mention that it's coming up very soon. So we'll probably get our hands on something like a beta in the coming couple of months. And if you made it this far into the video, one other thing that they did mention, they teased it, was Raids 4. This would not be for this year. They definitely said that's on the table for next year, but again, something to look forward to. And that is it. Everything. It's a lot, huh? Now, if you're watching this video right now as it goes up, I am live on YouTube. Come stop by, give me your thoughts on all of this, all of the stuff that's coming into the game in 2025 and a little bit beyond. I'll be streaming pretty regularly on Sundays at 10 a.m. Central Time. That'd be 4 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time for folks that are over in like the UK and other parts of Europe. So if you missed me today, then you're welcome to stop by then any weekend. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next transit only episode. See you there.